Good morning, everybody. Take two with Tim Rathmann. We had a little bit of a go figure, another technology issue. I switched computers to upgrade my computer, and that may have been a little bit of a snag. So we're starting over again. This morning, I'm really pleased to have everybody. If you're tuning in, please let us know on the comments. Let us know where you're coming in from. If you're calling in, we'd love to know, and we'll try to take some questions, or would love to see your comments. This morning, I'm talking to a good friend of mine, Tim Rathmann. Tim and I have been associates and now friends for a couple of years, maybe a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. I don't recall. And I have been on Tim's journey with him. It's been a pleasure to watch Tim over the last year go from laid off geologist and trying to figure out what path to take then, and to see where he's at now, and to see everything he's doing with drone videos and trying to find oil out in southeast Colorado and 2N media. And he's just really become a real inspirational cat for me. Really a great guy, and I really want to hear how he's doing. And let's hear a little bit about his journey from here to there, and from here to wherever he's going. So let's bring on Tim Rathmann. Tim, good morning.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning,
Good
world.
to see you. Everything's looking good this time. So that's
Cool.
I think we got it going. So everybody, bear with us. If you saw a little snippet before, we were just kind of stretching. We were stretching and
right.
Getting ready for the show.
Yeah,
so
doing warm up jumping jacks, basically.
Warm up jumping jacks, just like the old days, man. Should be nowadays. I could use some jumping jacks, honestly. Okay, so let's start over. So tell us a little bit about your from 2018 on, from leaving, kind of that leap from corporate, or the shove from corporate, to now. Tell us again a little bit about how that journey's been from start to now, and then we can talk about where you're going.
Sure. No, I think and I don't know who's tuned in before, but I just wanted to say again that I'm riding high. My wife and I just celebrated our 18th wedding anniversary on Monday, and it's been we've known each other for 23 years. I'll be 43 this year, so everyone can do the math of how long we've known each other. And she's been my rock. She's been my number one focus. And since October 2018, it's been a challenge. It was unexpected. That was getting laid off. That was the third time in my career, so it wasn't completely abnormal. However, it was something that I did not plan on. And I had sort of started consulting before that, just on the side as a side gig. Everyone needs a side gig. And that really sort of motivated me to start thinking outside the box. Being in the industry for 20 years, I'm well experienced. There wasn't many people hiring. And it was really on the forefront of the following year when the massive amount of layoffs then occurred with the downsize of the industry, COVID. But after being sort of notified of being laid off, have my office people watch me pack up my office, march me out the door. It was one of those moments that you look back on it, and it's really something that is a rebirth. And I went through various stages of grief, but I just kept moving forward. So I started networking, contacting everyone. I got my first consulting gig with the company, a small startup that was doing some exploration here on the Rockies. So that was good. And later on, I volunteered and picked up to be the president of the Denver International Petroleum Society. And I built them a website, continued LinkedIn, made a presence. And it's really just the biggest thing was to keep going and continuing out there doing stuff that I find passionate in. And then because I have a bachelor's degree in geology, my master's degree is actually computer science. So I have a big IT kind of fascination and passion. And so I was like, well, during COVID, everyone went online. It was all virtual. Video production, video edits, creating content was the biggest thing, and I got interested in it as well. So following kind of what my passion was with
Yeah,
geology,
so
with
it was like,
animals,
well, during COVID, everyone was doing
and and it was so I decided, I was like, well, let me start a media company, and we started, you and I hooked up together, and we started doing interviews, started taking, kind of focusing on people who are going through the similar thing and making some entertainment out of it. Like I said, I do have my fingers in a bunch of different things, and sort of it's all consulting, it's all entrepreneurship, and we'll see where it goes. But I'm gaining momentum, so that's good.
And I'm curious. Let's talk about that. So when you first were laid off, how long did you? I assume, like a lot of people, you search for another job. You just look for
Yeah.
another job. So how long was there a distinct point where you decided I need to branch out and start looking at other options because this is, what was that job search process like for you?
Yeah, it was. So I mean, being 20 years experience in the industry, having global international experience, working in multiple states, domestically here, I thought it would be really easy. Being back in Denver, Denver is a oil and gas hub in the U.S., and so I thought it would be, oh, I'll just walk across the street, I'll just call a bunch of people, and and see what's available. And that was not what I discovered. Um, I started applying for jobs, contact recruiters, and there really just went, my resume went in just this HR black box, um, and I think it was frustrating. It was eye opening, and it really
You
took
know,
about 7 months. It took about 7 months to realize that, okay, I got to take a different path here. Um, got to start marketing myself, got to realize what my sales abilities are, what my skill set is, and then just go on independent. And
and how what was the mental state, not to how was
yeah,
that, I talk a lot about stages of grief, right? And anytime we
yeah,
lose anything, there's a grief process. It's a Kubler-Ross stages of grief. And I think when you and I met,
yeah,
that's when I first realized, wow, there's a lot of people that are, well, I think it's Amanda Rico on her poll,
yeah,
where how are people doing a year after, into this thing, and 62% of the people that answered her poll said, I'm in the job search black hole. And
right,
that's just
right.
what you said. I mean, you spend that time there, and how would what was the turning point? What was the epiphany? What was the place or the process that took you out of that black hole and put you in a place where you're at today, so positive
Yeah,
and seeing
uh,
opportunities?
yeah. It was. I definitely went through all the stages of grief. You can talk to my family members, people who know me. I went into some
I
pretty
saw it.
dark places there emotionally. What got me going forward is moving forward is my son, my wife, my family, just making sure I was able to be there for them, and not let them see that dark places. And it happens to everyone. Everyone, and the fact that this was the third time go around, it was the most difficult because it was unexpected. However, it is
Mm-hmm,
the oil and gas
mm-hmm,
business. It is common, but what got me through was my son. He's 13 now. My wife, she's a nurse. She is my critical, my rock, and she helped get us through. And really, it was just talking to people, telling your
mm-hmm,
story, uh,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
being vulnerable, not being
mm-hmm.
embarrassed about getting let go, because there's nothing. I realize
Yeah,
it's nothing I did. It
yeah.
was just the state of the business. It was a professional decision, and getting out there, telling your story, realizing that you're not alone, opening yourself up to others, because everyone wants to help and everyone wants to be there for you. And it's been, honestly, we're looking at 2.5 years now, and it's only recently where I've been able to kind of get to that, place of acceptance, and positivity and enjoying other people's discussions, learning about other people's stories, uh, being able to help. Like I took on this Denver International Petroleum Society, and I arranged the speakers. I was able to create a website, record the videos, share it, knowledge sharing. And one of those things is that because of my efforts, I'm able to bring people together and people who haven't seen each other in years.
And I want to stop right there, and it's interesting because there so many people as a coach, as a move into coach, you and I have had some of those conversations, and
Hmm.
and it's been really fantastic watching your growth. And I remember one in particular where I walked away thinking, man, he's a whole different guy right now. It went from no opportunities or
Yeah,
feeling that place of what's the point to
right.
suddenly look at what you got going on. It's like I can't keep up with you now. You
Yeah,
guys, my clients are now inspiring for me, which is fantastic. And I realized, man, you guys are taking the steps, and it's been very motivating for me, ironically, which is interesting. And I love that. So let's with those 62%, I see we've got people from Algeria, India, around the world watching us here, and a lot of people are in
cool.
that 62%,
Yeah, yeah.
trying to figure this out. And so, I love that you mention gratitudes. My
Hmm.
son,
Hmm.
my wife, my
Hmm.
friends. You take that moment to try to direct your attention off of what's wrong and realize there's some right stuff going on here, and sometimes it is. That's that I always talk about gratitude. And the other
Absolutely.
thing you've done is, and I remember in our one of our early meetings when we first met, it was you made a comment about, I just want to help people,
Yeah, right,
and that
right.
helps you, right? That helps you, and
Hmm.
and you've done an amazing job with DIPS, with Denver International Petroleum Society. You really kind of re-energized that, brought some amazing speakers in, and that's been very helpful to a lot of people. And
Hmm.
so those are the things. What else would you tell people that are stuck, that are feeling? And I could mention, the people. I mean,
Yeah,
I know them, I won't mention names, but those people that are stuck in that the valley of desperation. And I laugh. I don't mean to laugh. It's not funny. I've been there, and it's
right.
not a pleasant place, and it's a hard climb out of that
Absolutely,
valley. And you've done
absolutely.
it, man, and you've done it. So what do you tell those people that are trying to find a way out?
Yeah, no, that's good. It's kind of a good question. I think my biggest thing was gaining perspective, and realizing that I wasn't alone. I felt times that I was being selfish, and well, then you look at some
Hmm.
you learn about other people's situation and realize that my situation is not bad at all. There's other people
Hmm.
very good situations, and I am
Yeah,
grateful that I have my health. We are very fortunate to have an income through my wife, who's a nurse, and the consulting efforts. And there's a lot more people in this world that are worse off than probably
sure.
you are, but or whoever is. But it's
Hmm.
also, I think it had a big deal is exercising, trying to
Hmm.
get that dopamine from exercising or whatever you're doing, volunteering, reaching
Hmm.
out. I reached out. My therapy. If people have been following me, my therapy was a year ago. We decided to get chickens. Um, and it was a unique experience. A lot of people have learned it. It was when right as COVID hit. We live in the city in Denver, and we're actually allowed 8 hens here and on one permit. So my son and I were talking about it. We're like, that's kind of fun, let's go out and do it. So we went to a farm store. I bought a book, and we raised chickens from 2 days old to they're in
Wow.
the backyard now. And I have an Instagram page set up, and it was very therapeutic. And
Hmm.
I've started fostering dogs because I got to the point where I was tired of dealing with humans for a little while, and let's go for animals. Animals are very therapeutic. I started focusing in my son a little bit, and just trying to create some distractions. At the same time, my mind is always going about business, about geology, So I networked and was able to hook up with, got a couple clients. So it was, I think the key thing is just keep doing stuff. Whatever it is, just keep busy, keep a routine, try to get a little bit more exercise, a little bit of better diet. Um,
What do you, let's talk a little bit about the industry moving forward. What is your, an opinion's worth an opinion, right? I mean, we all
yeah,
have an opinion. Everybody's got an opinion. And what do you think, focusing on North American oil industry, resource
hmm
play, the world of
hmm
resource plays, where do you see, what do you see the geologist's role
yeah,
as the industry moves forward? How do you see that changing? What changes have you seen? And what do you think moving forward? What would you tell the geologists that are in that 62% that are in that black
yeah.
hole? I mean, what do you think? What do you think we're going? Where do you think we're going?
Yeah, that's a good question. I started out working conventional plays in California, and but then got involved later on in the unconventional world, with geosteering, coal bed methane, and then getting into pioneer fracture, hydraulic fracture stimulation. And really, I think I've been blown away by the amount of jobs that probably will not come back, unfortunately. Geologists, I went into school for geology because I love geology. I had no intention of going working for an oil and company, and I
Yeah.
just sort of stumbled in on it. I'd found subsurface work fascinating and was working in California, was able to come up in a time where oil prices were all of a sudden booming. I went overseas when the oil was $100 a barrel, and companies
Mm,
had no problem relocating people
yeah.
internationally. And I look back on it, and a lot of the new grads, a lot of industry people who are maybe 10 years experience or less, all they know is in the US is unconventional. All they know is shale
Mhm,
plays,
mhm,
geosteering, operations, geology, exploration, new ventures, conventional reservoirs are really were not a focus. So
mhm.
I don't see unconventionals coming to be economic anytime soon in the next 2 to 5 years. Some operators are doing it.
Short of a price spike, short of a huge price
Sure.
spike. I mean, if you drive the yeah, sure.
Yeah. Um, but for, I mean, if you're interested in geology, interested in oil and gas, I would definitely say what I'm seeing is go into the alternative, sort of tangential subject matters like data science.
Mm, mm,
AI is big, artificial intelligence, and really the computer savviness of it. I mean,
mhm,
I always tell people that 70% of the, now it's more like 75 or 80% of the geologist's job, it's all computers. It's all
mm.
database. It's all digitized. It's all now,
Nowadays, you mean, yeah.
now, now. So to get more of a technical computer background, I think is definitely the place that people should look at.
And that's of course I totally agree. And it's the for me the sad realization is just what you summarize, that you got into, most of us that get into a lot of us that get into this field, we are following our passion.
Yeah,
It's,
totally.
we love geology. We're the guys that stop at every road cut, that on the walks, we're looking down, we're looking at the rocks, we're looking
Yeah.
at the outcrops. We're always thinking, for me, you see my pictures of depositional environments in the gutter. I'm fascinated by
Sure.
the
Yeah.
rhythmic nature of the patterns in geology are fascinating to me. And that's the sad thing, is to me, that if that's what got you here, as they say, it's probably not going to get you there, because there's been a shift. It's much more data driven. And if that's your interest, data analytics and data science, and that is
hmm
fascinating, and I'm glad a lot of people love it. But the concern is, if you're here because you love outcrops and looking through microscopes at rocks and thin sections. And back in the
Mm-hmm.
day, as a young core lab sales rep, we'd spend all day out at the USGS with a group of clients with cores laid out and knocking off chunks for XRD. And does anybody go to the USGS anymore? Does anybody look at core?
Yeah.
That sounds terrible, and I know they do.
Right.
But
Right.
just what you said, I think we're a company that had 10 geologists will probably have one or two now.
Mm-hmm.
And part of their job is going to be geosteering and running operations. And okay, yeah, go look at those cuttings now.
Right. Right.
And so yeah, I think you're right. It's either data science or you start looking at the renewable, the geothermal or
Yep.
carbon sequestration, how much geology is there. And I think a lot of people, if you're really trying to cling to the traditional geology, go international, go where they're exploring still, because there's not much exploration here in the US,
Mm-hmm.
or find another, as you said, tangential way to stay in that geology route, or go get your Python degree,
Yeah.
or
Right.
your data analytics.
Yeah, it's interesting. So what I see is where the new opportunities are for geologists is are sort of like you mentioned, the ESG, the environmental social governance aspect, something that's uh, it got some sort of carbon capture associated with it, some sort of environmental benefit. The biggest topics are geothermal. What I'm seeing out there is helium exploration. I'm seeing hydrogen exploration, especially in Wyoming. Wyoming is pushing hydrogen exploration. I'm seeing definitely the rare earth elements because of all the lithium and the batteries and
Sure.
the microchip needed. So and I'm also seeing technology like I'm getting into just recently, drone technology.
Yeah.
And how do you capture geology without being able to go out to the field? I mean,
Yeah.
I got into geology because I was in Boy Scouts and I loved going out on the camping trips and stuff. And so, and I was originally going to become an oceanographer. However, I realized quickly that
Huh.
I would get seasick very easily. So that was not going to be an option. So I switched to general geology. And when I got into UC Santa Barbara, we were going out in the field every weekend, and as if it was kind of like a Boy Scout trip. And I was like, wow, I can go camping, look at rocks, and this is part of my major. This is fantastic. Um, with the last year, with field trips not happening, a lot of people are just going out independently taking videos. I think there's a few people that have got into 3D mapping of geology using cameras, using drones, and that is kind of where I see a future of virtual geology because it's tough to organize a field trip, and a lot of people are so used to staying indoors these days that they just prefer that. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
drone technology, geology, virtual geology mapping, using satellite images, bathymetry mapping. There's a guy on YouTube. I think I forget what it's called, but I think he's from Iceland, and he's got a YouTube channel. A guy with a
Oh,
drone, and he flies his drone up to the recent lava fields,
yeah.
and it puts it to music, and absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll be seeing some drones at 2N Media, I imagine, soon. Are
I
you
hope so.
considering?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I know you're.
my newest
Go ahead.
client, he's doing drones. I'm gonna two in meetings gonna help him out, sort of marketing and start it up, and doing drone geoscience. And happy to promote him. His name's Ron Bell,
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen a couple. I've interviewed him with the Denver International Petroleum Society, the members in transition group, and really looking forward to that side of things.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's great.
It's sort of
No, I think
and
you're right. We're going to be out there. That's going to be the experimentation thing to figure out how do we bring technology, geology back in and add value to trying to make these resource plays economical. Really.
Yeah, and there's a lot of mergers going on. You see them consistently. There was the
Yep.
newest one that was just announced here in Denver,
That was
um,
huge. Yeah.
and
Cimarex and Cabot.
Civic and Cabot. Yeah, and
And then
Bonanza Creek just agreed to buy Extraction Oil and Gas,
Extraction. Hmm.
and Bonanza Creek made a merger with High Point recently also. So
Yeah.
congrats to all those folks involved. Unfortunately, that
Yeah.
will probably come with more layoffs, but it's all part of the business aspect of
Well, I
it.
mean, that's all part of the deal. I mean, it's economies
Yeah.
of scale theoretically. It doesn't always play out that way, but I think that's the idea, right? And all of a sudden
Mhm.
you're going from the smaller companies, you have a $7.4 billion company in Cimarex and Cabot now, and for sure there's going to be some layoffs in that deal. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
pain kind of continues, but you have to do what Tim did and start first thing. Realize your gratitudes. Notice your gratitudes. That you've got to. That's the first step out of that valley, is to realize that you're going to be okay. That this is going to
Yeah.
work. You
Yeah.
still have a lot of things to be thankful for, and it might sound a little as Marlo Neal. I watched Marlo Neal's the CEO of Belize Natural Energy
Oh
(BNE), and I
yeah.
just watched I
Right.
just watched a video from him, and that's an amazing story too. I should see about getting him on. That'd be a good one.
Absolutely.
And he mentioned about this may sound a little woo woo, and or I also heard airy fairy, the idea of stay positive,
Yeah.
and tough to do at times, but you have to start out by noticing the positive things around you and stay grounded in that. Your son, your wife, as you said, your chickens, the
Mhm.
your DP dips, what you're doing with Denver International Petroleum Society, all that stuff, obviously is helping you stay positive. And when you're positive, you do tend to see that there's some opportunities you will seek and find or create. You will create. You're creating
Yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm trying to, and I have a couple, for the first time this year, I was able to hire a couple contractors underneath my entity, some 1099 contractors, and that's been huge. Um,
Wow.
and it's, on the finance side, on a small business, it's always a little bit tricky,
Yeah.
especially past year when you're talking about the PPP loans, a lot of people on unemployment. How do you get small business funding? How do you fund yourself? Um, how do you set up entities? It's just all stuff this last couple of years that I've been learning about. Um, but it's no, it's I'm I like we talked about. It's hard to stay positive. It's hard to get to that perspective, but uh, not isolating yourself, telling your story, sharing who you are is key. And I saw a podcast, watched a podcast the other day, and he was a coach, and he was basically teaching his audience is that they don't want to see this big production anymore. They want to know who you are.
Mhm.
And we're all video based these days, and it's sort of funny that people want to see the real person. And this is me. This is who we are. You and I have had some fun with our interview guests, and just show them who the real people are behind the scenes.
Yeah. No, I think you're exactly right. It's the vulnerability you want to show,
Yeah,
because we all have this facade of being kind of tough, especially guys. I think it's the boys don't cry thing.
right.
Don't be weak. Don't show your weak side. And a lot of times when you hear uh, uh, empathy, empathy, being empathy. I had my last. I had a CEO tell me recently, well, fairly recently, "Oh, you're more sensitive than most," and I thought, yeah, that's a good thing. You mean I'm more empathetic and more
Yeah,
understanding? But I know in his mind it was a sign of weakness.
sure.
And that's just not the case. And that really does a lot of damage when we continue to project that kind of stereotype, that and what that does is it leads to kind of closet activity. For me, I did some serious drinking for years
Mhm.
and I had this one person that I projected to everybody, but the other person was the opposite of that. And so I had, I was in conflict all the time. And that's just not a good way to live. It's not good for anybody around you. It's not good for yourself. And you tend to isolate. So I want to point
Yeah.
out that's another point. Don't isolate. And I know how difficult, I can see how difficult that is to not isolate when you feel down, when you feel bad, when you are in that valley place.
Mhm.
We all, you see people always, and I've said the same thing. Reach out when you're feeling bad. Reach out, call me, whatever. The
Yeah.
reality is, who wants to call anybody when you feel bad? as
Right.
as buddy David Yaw, when he talked about being
Yeah.
a burning mess on the couch, he wasn't calling people. He didn't want out. I mean, he did want out of that, but you don't see a way out. So you just kind of get in that paper bag. And that's why it's really
Yeah.
important to do what you're doing. Uh, you're doing the reaching out. You just mentioned hiring a couple of people already. That's helping them out. These are people that
Mhm.
needed a helping hand, and you offered that. And that helps you. That's what I found through this coaching world is my best moments are when I see clients, people I'm talking to, suddenly bloom, blossom, take this shift. And that's
Yeah.
what I saw with you. And that's really what we want to do for people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so my situation too was that I sort of kept comparing myself to others. I kept
Mm-hmm.
comparing myself to my brothers. I kept comparing myself to other people who had full-time jobs,
Mm-hmm.
who've never been laid off before,
Oof.
who during COVID they were considered essential employees, and so they never saw they never experienced the situation that others experience, like myself, of all of a sudden there is no work out there, and so you're going to have to start promoting yourself, selling yourself, and realize what your skills are. Um, and I kept continuing to compare myself to others, and I got to the point where I can't do that anymore. We all have our own story. Everyone, I thought I had my story, and I was angry at somebody else, and realized that well they're in a different story as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they have gone through their own troubles and their own hardships, and to realize that everyone has a story. This is my story, and that's where I got to the acceptance piece. Is that
Mm-hmm.
got it? I can't rely on others anymore. I can rely on others for support, but I can't. I got to stop comparing myself to others and just kind of break through and and
Mm-hmm.
and be me, and move forward. Be a be a first mover. I'm big a fan of being a first mover, being the first one out there. If I'm in a crowd of people or in some sort of conference, and I'm the first one to ask a question, so it's the icebreaker aspect, and the first, like I said, first mover, and I realize that now. So whatever I do, I know I'm the first one doing it, and it's a little uncomfortable. However, this is what that this is what my passion is. This is what I do.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. A trailblazer to some degree.
Well, there you go. And change is never comfortable. We want to stay in our little comfort zone, so we don't change. And that's what I said earlier. It's like what got you here won't get you there. If you keep
Right.
doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results.
Yeah.
These are all quotes you pick up, one-liners
Yeah.
you pick up, and it's
Definition of
all
insanity.
true.
Uh-huh.
It's the definition of insanity. If you want to change, you need to change, and change is never comfortable. It really isn't. But look where it got you. Look where you're at now. And the nice thing about change is you have to take little steps,
Mm-hmm.
and it encourages you to take that next step. And maybe it's a little bit bigger one next time. And you realize, hey, that wasn't so bad. It
Right.
wasn't so scary. I want to talk a little bit about networking because these are not easy times. I'm a networking
Yeah.
wag. I mean, I love networking. It's what it's all about. When this thing went away a year ago,
Mhm.
I kind of became a hermit. I didn't know what to do. How do you network? So you mentioned networking. How has networking been? How have you done that over the last year?
Yeah, I think I have always been a fan since 2000, probably 2006 or 7 of LinkedIn. LinkedIn has
Hmm.
been my primary tool. I'm and it's always been. I've gone through various phases of just that's where I got my overseas opportunities through recruiters. But
Hmm.
I networking is people are afraid to talk to each other now,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
it's uncomfortable because of the current environment. Um, but if I ask my wife, she'd be like, well, send Tim in. He'll talk to anybody, and I
Uh,
will. I will talk to anyone. And it's important to connect with somebody right from the get-go. Find some commonality, find a common interest, get to
hmm.
know them.
Hmm.
People
Hmm.
like talking about themselves, and
Sure.
so, but it takes a little bit of effort. And I try to mentor, new graduate students, new undergraduates that are coming out, because they have a different style of networking, right? It's all chats, it's all text
Hmm.
messages, it's all
Hmm.
emails.
Hmm.
It's a lot of less physical, one-on-one, face-to-face. And
Hmm.
so my advice is just introduce yourself to people. Don't be afraid
Yeah.
to ask them about them. People are happy to share their stories, and
Well, let me ask you, were you always like that? Or was there a point where suddenly you became that? You know what I mean? It's the back in high school, the wallflowers. Where you don't you
yeah,
go to events and you just try to sit where people won't notice you. So you don't have to engage. You almost avoid that versus walking into the room and try to meet as many people as you can. So
yeah.
it sounds
That's
like
a
you're more on that end now. Has it always been that way, or did you
that's a good
somehow was that a transgression or not transgression, but a movement?
Yeah. No, that's good. That's making me reflect here on the spot, which is
That's
well
the
done.
idea.
Yeah. I think I was the youngest of three, right? I have two older brothers, so I was the youngest. I was as sort of, you do studies of the oldest, the middle child, the youngest, the behavior. I was always the one that kind of went along for the ride. I was
Hmm.
always observed my two older brothers, and what they screwed up on, I learned from it to make sure I did not do that. Um, and I think in high school, so I went to an all-male Catholic boys' high school, and that was just my two oldest brothers did it. I think that sort of I don't recommend that for many people. Yeah, I would do it differently. If I could.
Well, sure you would now.
Um, and I think because it was all guys, there was constant competition of how you break yourself against the pack. And I went sort of the nerdy path. And my senior year, I became yearbook editor. So I was more behind the scenes, taking pictures, interviewing people for the yearbook. There's people I didn't really like the most popular people I didn't really get along with. However, I tried to get along with everyone. That year, I think uh, I put more of my friends in the yearbook than the most popular people.
Hmm.
And it was just one of those things that I took the nerdy path. I call it the nerdy path, and more step back behind the scenes. And it really wasn't. It was probably continued on into my geology career. I mean, most geologists, they can go out in the field and are happy as a clam to be out by themselves, be out with a small group, not have to interact with society. But it was really, I think, where I learned it is at social situations in college. I was really, try to get to know people, understand that everyone has a story,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
throughout my career, when I graduated from UC Santa Barbara in 2001, it was really about networking. I got my entry into the oil and gas business from an intern, from a person I was doing field camp with. She had an internship and she was moving on. She's like, "Hey, there's a job. Are you interested in it?"
Hmm.
And so was able to get that internship just through connecting intimately with smaller groups rather than
Mhm.
everyone. And I think it's just been slowly throughout the years, networking more on a focus basis, not letting
Okay.
everyone know. But now, as a consultant and as an entrepreneur and trying to start new businesses, I'm open to talking to anybody
You
because
know, and it's interesting.
every kind of opportunity.
A couple of good points there, I think, are start small.
Yeah,
And that's what I tell people. Find a little group that you're interested in. That's a smaller group, because even when I started, I asked, that was a little bit of a loaded question because when I started, I was terrible. I was introverted.
yeah.
I'd go to large conferences to network and I would leave early,
Mm-hmm.
sit in the back, I would really almost try not to engage.
Right,
And what you then it kind of got into sales, and what you find out is everybody's got a story. Just
right.
what you said. Everybody has something they want to talk about. So the best networking tool, I think, is go in there. You at some point you just have to get over it. You have to walk up to somebody and introduce yourself and get started. And the easy thing is ask questions. You said
Mm-hmm.
this earlier. Ask questions. And I read an article once and it said, find something in this person that you like. So ask enough questions until you finally find something that you enjoy, that you find interesting, that you like about this
Right.
individual. Because what happens is if he suddenly realizes you like him, then you have a common theme. Then you're kind of in. You've made that emotional connection. And so
Definitely
really
agree.
it's just all about ask a lot of questions. Find out what you like about this individual, and then you have a connection. You have that emotional connection. As a salesman, you go in, and when we used to go to offices, have office visits, of course, the first thing you do is you look around and you look at pictures. You look at something somewhere. You see his daughter's in a soccer uniform. You see his son in a Cub Scout. Boom, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I was a Cub Scout leader. I did Cub Scouts. And suddenly you have a common topic and you like each other. There's a
Right,
like there, and you've
right.
established that relationship. So I think part of it is you just have to do it. It doesn't it's not easy to get started, but once you get started, it really becomes it can become an enjoyable process. It might take
Yeah,
30 years, but,
right.
and at the same time, then you're building a really nice network. You're a really great support group, and that is a lifelong asset for your career.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's sort of uncomfortable right at the beginning of introducing yourself, but I'm always a big fan of sharing first, right? And introducing yourself, saying, uh, and that also, kind of it opens the door and allows the other person to think a little bit and maybe try to relate. And if you can't quite relate, continue to share, and then maybe get to the point where you just two aren't you just aren't compatible, and so you move on.
You
Uh,
move on.
yeah, no, I totally agree with you.
All right, Tim. Very good, man. Listen, we're probably coming up here on it. You got things to do. I got things to do. Everybody's got things to do. So
Yeah, I
let's.
don't know. I don't know if anybody is who's tuned in here, but this has been fun between you and me, if
Yeah,
anything.
well, you got to start somewhere, right? Okay, just like with
Absolutely.
networking, you got to get started. So this is us getting started. So follow. I'll start end by saying follow Tim on LinkedIn. Follow Denver International Petroleum DIPS DIPS on. Do you have a web page? I mean, a
Yep. Yeah.
LinkedIn page.
LinkedIn and dipsdenver.org. That's our website. We don't have any more meetings scheduled until fall,
Okay,
but there are recorded. I have recorded most of the webinars we did the last year, so those are up there for review on the
excellent.
website. And
And
yeah, I mean,
how about 2N Media? Do you have the any of the drone videos, or what do you have on 2N Media other than just our interviews, or what's on 2N Media?
yeah. So right now it's our interviews. It's linked to the DIPS webinars, a few entertainment videos about my chickens. And so that's just kind of started. The drone footage has just kind of come in just recently this week. So we're going to be editing that and working with the company to share that content. But it's really neat. It's using drones to do geoscience, to do magnetic surveys, lidar, gamma ray, various high res imagery, and all using drones. So that's
Amazing.
going to be the next step. Pretty awesome. I mean, drones. Back in 2008, my dad said he's a professor in mechanical engineering. My dad said that in 2008, drones were senior projects that are just using for test cases and experimentation. But now, drones are the future, and it's pretty exciting to incorporate and be a part of it. So I'm hoping it will continue. And I'll still
Yep.
continue with my clients for Petrol, another operator who's looking for funding in Southeast Colorado for some exploration wells, and we'll see where that goes. So.
Yeah, I wanted to let you give a quick plug for Rare Petro. Tell us just real quick about Rare Petro.
Absolutely, Rare Petro. So they are a petroleum engineering consulting firm, as well as a tech firm. And right now, the Anthony McDaniels, he's the CEO president. He sort of founded it in 2015. He's a petroleum engineering himself. He's an inventor. He's a former National Guard member, and a really fascinating group. They're all Colorado School of Mines graduates, and very brilliant, very bright. Coming in, their goal is to modernize the oil field. So using new technology to help revitalize and modernize the oil field. And we have projects in California that we're working partially with operators out there and regulatory. We're also trying new projects in Wyoming, in Texas, in Colorado. And I'm their first geologist that they hired on as a consultant. And we're always looking for new ideas. So they're a fantastic organization. RarePetro.com.
Okay, I was going to just see if I could put that up here. Let me see.
Yeah, they do market research.
RarePetro.com.
They do podcasts. They do interviews with leaders, and really create some great content. So I encourage everyone to follow them as well.
All right, buddy. Thanks.
Right on. Well, thanks
enjoyable.
everyone, whoever is listening and whoever watches this recording. I hope it was beneficial. If we help one person, that's all we need. So.
Well, we had comments from Mike. Where are you at? Arizona. I can't remember, Phoenix or Tucson. Maybe he'll tell us. India, Algeria, Belize. We had Belize, a buddy from Belize,
Awesome.
call in. So, and several people from India. So, yeah, we were lost in Belize. Go figure. Yeah. Oh, okay. Lost internet. Yeah, Kurt's back. Kurt said, I lost the internet in Belize. Go figure. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. We're just getting tuned up. That's all
Absolutely.
I can say. Just keep an eye. We've got I've got some interesting ones coming up. We've got, I talk a lot about Carl Jung, right, and the stages of life and how they relate to where we're at and our actions and so forth. So I've got my buddy that's a Jungian. I don't know if he's a psychologist. He's a Jungian student in Jung psychology, I guess, probably the best way to put it. He's a coach. He does really interesting coaches creatives. He's a musician, so that'll be an interesting one to see too. And some other ones coming up I don't want to announce yet, but and we're going to follow Tim, man. Tim's going to continue to be our inspiration, and check him out on LinkedIn. Follow him on LinkedIn. See what he's doing on 2N Media. Watch the chickens; those are a riot. There's going to be some potential with those chickens. We're going to do something with those chickens, other than eat them. So.
We'll figure something out. It's probably on Instagram. So # Denver City Hens. That's them. That's us. And we'll see where it goes. So, thanks, Steve. Thanks, everyone. It's nice to
thanks for everybody for
share
tuning
this story.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody's comments. Got a number of comments. Mike's from Phoenix, by the way, Phoenix, Arizona. So appreciate everybody tuning in and keep watching. Good luck to everybody, and take care. Count your gratitudes, network, and life will be grand.
Agreed.
Okay,
thanks, Steve.
All right. Bye for now, everybody. Take care.